Madison, Wisconsin is as good as it gets if you are like me and you love the college sports.
This is the Jump Around with Jim Rutledge and Pablo Iglesias, outfitted by Iron Jock Apparel, streaming live on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Dancing down the sidelines, and they catch him now! The Badgers answer instantly. There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game. Gordon again, inside the 5, touchdown! What a performance by Melvin Gordon!
Chucky Hepburn, Big Ten on the line. Yes!
It's over. The Wisconsin Badgers win 17-9. They are the first Big Ten team ever to win successive Rose Bowl games.
That is the best college sports town in America.
We are live from the Everlight Solar Studio in Madison. I'm Jim Rutledge alongside Pablo Iglesias. This is the Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show, live on the ESPN Madison and ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channels. A new edition here with ESPN Milwaukee streaming the show as well. So hopefully
what up,
our
414, baby?
Will continue to grow. And we are brought to you by Iron Jock. That's Iron Jock with a C. Go to ironjock.com to find some great gear similar to what Pablo is wearing today.
Yes, sir.
You got the Iron Jock quarter zip there, looking fresh. And I'll start with this as we get into today's show. This is about all I want to say about the Michigan game. Is I do think Michigan's got elite uniforms.
They're pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. I think I was like 13 when I ran college football back in the day.
Yeah.
And I won the Heisman there. I looked pretty good running that run option. Those are sweet uniforms.
The jump man
pretty elite.
Is just kind of, it's always just amazing.
And the winged helmets are very iconic.
I think I can't remember when this was. I was like a junior in high school, I believe, or maybe a senior in high school. The tailgate experience there, I got to give it to them. They really party down over there in Ann Arbor. Beautiful town. If you guys haven't made it out there, highly recommend.
All right, that's all the talk we want to have about Michigan, though, because none of us think that game is going to go well. We will talk to Kelly Stouffer from the ESPN radio broadcast with Mark Kessler coming up later in the show. But we're going to start with Kelly Stauffer's old position when he played football. That was quarterback. And I joined Wisconsin College Game Day pregame before the Maryland game. And Badger apologist, Luke Fickell apologist. I don't know if Jesse Nelson still is a Badger apologist and Luke Fickell apologist, but he has been pounding the sand or pounding the dirt or pounding the pavement, however you want to. Not the rock. On this idea that Luke Fickell is the victim of poor quarterback play and mainly unfortunate injuries, Pablo. So the record with QB1 starting and playing a whole game, so it's very much a lot of LeBron stats here, but 6-2 they were with Tanner Mordecai, 2-0 with Tyler Van Dyke, 8-2 overall. Now, we do need to note that a lot of those games for those quarterbacks came in non-conference. Obviously, Tyler's both of his games. He didn't finish the Alabama game. Record in games where QB1 got hurt, 1-2, Iowa, Alabama, Miami of Ohio. Okay. And then record in games started or primarily played by the backup, 1-2, 3-7, 1-2, 5-11 overall. It excludes the ReliaQuest Bowl for some reason. But mainly because that would make Mordecai 6-3, I guess. So
that's true.
I guess what do you make of that argument first from Jesse Nelson that Luke Fickell would have a better record if he had healthier quarterbacks?
You could make an argument for it. He was asked week 1 when Billy went down. I mean, the Badgers still come out with the win, but the belief of, do you think that you're just snake bitten, or do you feel like that there's like some weird curse on you with this one? I don't know. It does suck to kind of sit in that what if, though. What if, like, if Wisconsin's quarterback stayed healthy? I mean, let's be real too. How important the quarterback position is. Like, I mean, you need a good quarterback. To think that, I don't know. I just think though, compared to last. How it's been like for the last 2 seasons when you had Braden Locke, who had very limited starting experience. I mean, has Danny O'Neal shined under the bright lights like magnificently? Not really, but he still has performed a lot better, I feel like, strangely, than Braden Locke did, because at least he had that starting experience. At least he's kind of coming into this, I would say, probably a little more confidently than Braden Locke, based off of just from what I'm seeing, solely based off the experience. So, I'm just, it just kind of keeps you like confused as to be, again, what is this? What would this feel like if Wisconsin did have that starting quarterback?
Yeah, I think it would help if Luke Fickell would have had Tanner Mordecai, Tyler Van Dyke, and up to this point, Billy Edwards Jr. playing. The Badgers would be a significantly better team, and Fickell wouldn't be nearly as despised right now. Like last year, the Badgers were a good quarterback away from beating Oregon and Penn State. Everyone's looking at Fickell and his coaching job and staff significantly differently if they win those games. However, it would also be a lot different if they had an identity right now and the quarterback was just hampering them and just weighing everything down. Like if they were able to run the ball effectively, if they had a stingy defense, which actually apparently they have the best rush defense in the country right now, which is wild. But if they had, as Barry Alvarez always says, like if they had something else to hang their hat on and the quarterback just kind of sucked, that would be one thing. But there are a lot of other issues, I think, at present right now.
Yeah, I think year one is probably the best case for that because Tanner Mordecai came in pretty established quarterback. They had some players left over from the Christ era. They had good offensive linemen. They had Braylon Allen. They could have run the ball more. Like, that's the best argument for it. And you didn't know what you had in Braden Locke after. But when Braden Locke comes out in 2023 and completes 50% of his passes for 777 yards, an average of 5 yards per completion, and 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, that should scream. And obviously you went winless because they won 6 games with Tanner Mordecai. They won 6 games overall, so you went winless with Braden Locke as your starter. Maybe you shouldn't have him be your backup the next year.
Yeah.
So in college football, you are accountable for your players. So the next year they bring in Tyler Van Dyke. Van Dyke is far more – do they make a bowl game with Van Dyke? Sure. So we're talking one-win victory difference. So that's obviously part of the conversation, but you went back out with Braden Locke, who completed a whopping 55% of his passes in this spread, which – does not put the ball in the air very often. I mean, at least you were a lot of short passes, that's the whole point of the spread offense is to get the ball out of your hands quickly and let your playmakers make plays in space for 1,900 yards, 6.5 yards average, and then 13 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So it was bad all the way around with Braden Locke, and that shouldn't have been a surprise in year 2. So even if you wanted to give him a pass in year 1, year 2, it's Braden Locke. And then this year, again, I don't even know if there's a massive separation. We don't know what Billy Edwards is. It's not like these guys are coming in as – it's not like you brought in Caleb Williams as your transfer. I mean, it's you brought in guys – Mordecai was probably the most sought after and most highly recognized or most highly thought of quarterback that came to the University of Wisconsin under Luke Fickell. Mordecai was incredibly successful. It was at SMU last and then came here.
He had a flashy skill set.
Yes.
He had a great arm. He could run too, and it was like, from a number standpoint, don't quote me on this one, but it was just kind of like a Russell Wilson-esque type of like, where you had that dual threat, but it just didn't pan out.
Yeah, that's the one I'll take for like, okay, too bad he got hurt because that I think you could kind of sell a little bit. But and he's apparently in the pros. He's on the 49ers practice squad. So. But he is someone that, and he was older. Van Dyke was coming, he had a great freshman year. He was coming off of a down year, and that one was far more of and he didn't look great in the first 2 games, but that was far more of like a projection there. And Billy Edwards this year, like, come on now. Like, we've also been sliding down the scale of transfer QBs coming in. And I'm not saying Billy Edwards would have been bad or the Badgers would have beaten Maryland, but the quarterback, to Riley's point, is not the problem on this team. Their offensive line is bottom of the Big Ten. They didn't run the football the last 2 years. They're not running the football very well this year. They're trying more this year, but they're still not running it well. And so, and I would say Badger fan, the biggest, it's not about beating Oregon or Penn State, any of those teams. Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, like, you're below all those teams, and it's not just because of the quarterback.
I think the problem that jumps in or that comes to mind right now, too, is, again, the overall lack of identity or still trying to figure out what that identity is. Because, again, if you don't know, not like say from a system quarterback, but if you don't really know what your system is and you don't know exactly, it's great that you're recruiting this type of talent. It's great that you're bringing in these guys who have solid track records. But if you don't know what the heck your system is, if you don't know what type of offense, yes, this is going to be this is a new season with Jeff Grimes, and who knows if this is even going to really pan out. But still, it's if you really don't know what your identity is, how the heck are you going to figure out what type of quarterbacks that you could recruit?
Yep.
Whether it's for the future from recruit. Hopefully, I've liked what I've seen in the few practices from Carter Smith overall at fall ball. But also, I'm like, okay, like, what type of quarterbacks are you recruiting if it's coming out of the transfer portal, or guys that you're trying to build up that are younger? So it's, again, it just goes back to the overall arching thing of that lack of identity and still trying to figure out what that is. It's that's just where we're at.
Our jump around poll question at ESPN Madison, at ESPN Milwaukee: if Wisconsin continues to struggle, will the QB situation be the main reason for Luke Fickell's failure? Right now, 53% of you say no. Barry Alvarez obviously made some news last week with calling the fans for the Wisconsin Badgers spoiled rotten. I had a chance. I filled in on the Barry Alvarez show on Monday at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Middleton, and I asked him to kind of follow up on those statements, and Derek Engler, former Badger, chimed in as well. Let's see this video, and then we'll react to it.
It's not like when the whole student section's booing them off the field. But then again, they paid to get in, and they can voice their opinion. And so I don't want to be too hard on them. Although I didn't like it, and I can express it. And they can say, you know what, Coach, go pound sand. Go do what you want.
Well,
and that's
the bottom line.
so.
The bottom line is give them something to cheer about, because Maryland, there was absolutely nothing. Nothing. Absolutely
well said,
nothing.
Derek. Well said.
Nothing. I mean, when that product is put out on the field and some of these kids are getting paid, that's tough. That is really, really tough, because there was no fight. There was no competitive spirit whatsoever. We watched the body language. I watched it on TV. It's very apparent. And that's what we got to see change.
No fight, no competitive spirit. That's not about a quarterback. And so, Pablo, the next thing we want to get to is, what are the Badgers going to give you to watch? As Derek said, they didn't give you anything to watch or cheer for against Maryland. So what are you watching for? Why are you watching the Badgers? We're all watching it because we're fans. It's our job, but we also enjoy watching Badger football. Enjoy could be in air quotes now, but we still want the team to go well. We always joke, you put the clown face on every Saturday and be like, all right, this is the time they're going to turn it around.
Can't wait.
But it is hard to feel optimistic, and it's one of those things where with this Badger football team, like, normally you'd say, all right, let's have the young players, let's watch them and see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And let's see how they develop, and maybe we can have some excitement for the future. And you even had that last year a little bit, and then you also had maybe we might make a bowl. A bowl feels impossible right now, and if they win 4 games, which seems like the likely best case scenario, I would imagine Luke Fickell gets moved on from. But even if he doesn't, I don't know who they're keeping. And so that's the other part of it with the NIL, and I'm not mad about the NIL, and I'm not mad at the players. But at the same time, with NIL, it's not like I can watch this and be like, all right, well, at least Dylan Jones and Darian Dupree are getting some important reps, and Trex Kakahuna will be even better next year. No, I don't. He might be better somewhere on some other team.
Yeah.
And so, like, it really gets – you can get nihilistic about it of, like, what am I even watching for?
I am excited to see, because Luke Fickell's pointed out that the young guys have been getting more reps. It's a good opportunity for guys like you think your Eugene Hiltons, you think of like your Cooper Catalanos. I know he's been a little bit more of a popular name as well. But, yeah, you think about the young guys that are getting more reps out there and that are getting more playing time. I mean, Fickell's been pretty straightforward. It's like, the guys, especially that came in early for spring ball, that were our freshmen coming into this year, they're like, all right, now you're not considered freshmen. You are right now a part of this team. You are getting out in the field. You're getting reps. You're getting out there. But let me ask you guys both, how important is this week too? Because maybe it does feel like that the season, you can make a case that it feels like is the season over because of this daunting schedule. What could Wisconsin do this week in terms of a performance at Michigan? Like, what could they do to impress you guys, to make you feel like that you could be convinced and say, like, hey, maybe this season isn't completely over yet?
Well, I said I boldly proclaimed the season was over after the game against Maryland in the postgame show.
Can't go back on that now.
No. And I want them to show me something that proves the season isn't over. Michigan,
but what is that thing,
they're
though?
exactly. They're completely out talented. Michigan's front seven is significantly better. Their quarterback's significantly better. They can run the football. So I just want to see, how does Wisconsin handle a bruising true Big Ten team? Because this isn't Oregon. It's not Penn State. It's not even Ohio State. They're not going to be super high flying. Can they just hold their own for 2-3 quarters before Michigan grinds them out? Can they hang around and just show some fight? I just want to see some sort of anything good to happen. As you saw last week, and which we saw the past 2 seasons, something bad happens, the entire team crumbles, they all wilt. Can they first take one punch and not completely crumble? And then 2, if they can take that first punch, I'll be happy. Then just hang around. Make it a game. It's big noon kickoff. It's yellow out at the big house. You're on national TV. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt. Like, come on. Just make it a contest, and then maybe there's something there to move forward on and build upon.
What are the players thinking right now? That's the other part of it. I remember hearing, what's the word? I don't want to say rumors, but hearing a little scuttlebug that when they lost one of their road games early with Luke Fickell, it might have even been the Washington State game here at Camp Randall, a lot of the players already were thinking, well, what are we playing for? Like, our big goal was out the window. And these kids are here at the university in large part before Luke Fickell for the opportunity to win, and being a Badger in general, I would imagine, is less important than ever for every school, not just Wisconsin. So that's hard to get these kids to rally up when things aren't going their way. They are getting paid, and I do think these kids take that seriously, but there's a different sort of buy-in when you feel like you got something to play for. So that's the harder part. If you do get punched in the mouth, and then all of a sudden, here we go again, and now we're going to lose to Michigan. And like, and this is where I get concerned, because what happens when they're mathematically eliminated from a bowl game? What are these kids showing up for?
Yeah.
And it's a credit to them to do it. I'm not saying it's easy, but like, that's where I'm afraid this season goes. And I don't like the slippery slope, and you got to show up every day and you try to win the day and all of that. But at the same time, there's winning the day and getting by. And I think at some point, human nature for these kids is, I'm going to show up and do my job, but it's still not with the same vigor as I'm doing it if I felt like I had something to earn, especially when there's an end in sight.
Yeah.
It's not like these kids are going to be playing bad football forever. They're going to go, all right, there's 4 games left, there's 3 games left. I'm going to show up and be professional. But is there a difference between showing up and being professional and having that get to or have to attitude of like, I get to be here. We're playing for something. We have something on the line. It's easier to play for that, especially the younger you are, than, hey, I will take pride in my work. There's a different level of commitment.
It goes to the level, too, of like what you pointed out, what Chris Orr said. It's about pride wearing the W, and it's not just Wisconsin pride, too, that wears that motion W. You know, was it Chris is a Texas guy, right? Or he's from Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Yeah, where is that pride? Where is that juice? Where is that energy? That's what I want to see. I want to see, like, that, again, that true thing. I think what you were talking about, too, Jim, was the first year was at Washington State. There was a revenge game right there. It was on national television, and it just felt like that. It was. You also played Cam Ward, who ended up being the first overall draft pick a couple years down the road. But, yeah, it's just you have to come in with some type of fire. You have to go in there fearless, if you will. You have to go in there. Because I think what we've seen from Wisconsin, and like from the Maryland game too, there was no ounce, it felt like, that Maryland came into Camp Randall scared. That is the shocking thing for me. That is what sucks to think about.
The stadium's 3/4 full.
That is also
not
true
much
too.
to be afraid of.
Yeah. So, but hey, it even goes to the point too of fans that Derek was making. What can fans even cheer for when it's only 3/4 of the stadium that's full right now? It's like, if Maryland just comes in here fearless, thinking that they could make some noise, and they made more than enough noise there, then yeah, I need Wisconsin to really show that they could be fearless in this situation, that they should not be pushed around. And how they do that, we got to see come Saturday. But that is at the core root. We need to see like Wisconsin just having that same type of attitude that Maryland comes in there. Don't count yourself out.
Yeah, and Jim, this is more to your point, but I remember talking with Cooper Catalano, and he specifically mentioned one of the team goals is to get to a bowl game this year, which I think is appropriate given how difficult the schedule is this season. And I think that's the thing. This kind of plays into why I'm still watching. Obviously, my job, I love the Badgers, but it's because, and why this difficult stretch right now in October is so important, because there's still hope. Is it clinging on by the absolute tiniest of threads? Yes. But as Fickell said in his press conference, you just need one thing to go your way, one thing to go right, and that can change the course of a game. Then it can change the course of a season, and then the guys start believing again, and then a bowl game's back on the table, and then your bigger goals in the future are more viable. So I think that's the crux of it. They just need to have hope. They need to still have that fire. They just need one thing to go their way. One thing, and that'll change everything. There's the sound.
There you go. Kirk Penny leaving the Wisconsin Badger basketball program. I want to focus on that part first.
That's tough, man.
I don't love it.
No.
Because we've spent the last 2 years talking about how Kirk Penny has influenced, I would say, international recruiting, influenced Greg Gard and how he runs this offense, and has been a positive influence on the players. There are Sharif Chambliss, Joe Krabanoff, and you have obviously Greg Gard are the three lead coaches. And Kirk Penny leaving is going to leave a mark, but I'll say this before we get to the replacement hire. Greg Gard has earned the in Gard we trust.
I agree. I think he has shown that, like, again, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges because football and basketball recruiting are a little different, but his whole staff has shown that they are able to adapt and get guys in this new era of college sports as a whole, too. I mean, I feel like last season we were super excited. We didn't think Tanjay was going to blow up the way that he did, and all of a sudden he was in National Player of the Year conversations for a little bit, and now the fact that the Nick Boyd hype is coming in, you have these electric transfers and everything. I'm excited even more, so it's cool to see like how they transitioned and they were able to do this. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that he's still around, he's in New Zealand, but he's still going to be in a consulting role. He's still going to help out the team when and how he can. That makes me a lot less afraid than if he had left for another job or was completely just done with basketball. So I think he will still be able to have a positive impact just from the other side of the pond. So,
and then brought in almost, I would say, as a PR move.
Potentially.
Brad Davison, a special assistant to the head coach. Brad Davison has zero coaching experience, played overseas for a little bit, obviously a former Badger. And I honestly think it's going to have, and I mean this complimentary, Brad Davison's going to mean nothing to the Badgers' success or failure this year. Mm-hmm. Like, he is someone who is there to learn from Greg Gard.
I know he had coaching aspirations, and that's really the only thing where I could point out, hey, it's a stepping stone for him. But yeah, that's what value. Like, I got to know Brad over the few years while he was here, but also it's like I'm excited for it. I think it brings a young energy to it too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know exactly. Like, it is just a wait and see. It's a wait and see in terms of what new things he brings to the table. But man, just losing Kirk is going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough for this offense because of like how much he transformed, how fast they moved. So yeah, it is very much wait and see for me, but I don't know what drastic changes.
He's barely a year older than Nick Boyd.
That's wild.
So like,
really?
If you're looking for, Nick Boyd is 24 years old, and Brad Davison is 26, but they overlap like a little bit in there.
What?
Feels like he's been gone for so
ridiculous.
long.
I feel like his last season was the end of 20. It was COVID, right?
It was
the one
Johnny
that got
Davis.
Canceled, right?
No. His last season, I think.
He played.
His was Johnny Davis's
the next year. Okay.
season.
Still, that's wild to think about.
Yeah.
So, I would think Brad's smart enough to not be Brad here too. Like, you're too close to being a player. Like, he needs to also understand that This is Nick Boyd's team. So I think he said that I'm going to play on the scout team, and I think it's a neat story, but the influence Brad Davidson isn't going to exist for this season at least. And that's a good thing. They have Joe Krabanoff, they have Sharif Chambliss, and they have Greg Gard. Like, those are 3 really good coaches. If you were relying on the special assistant, that feels a little bit like The Office, the assistant to the assistant manager.
Special assistant to Greg Gard.
Yes, the assistant to the assistant manager.
Dwight Schrute right now? Is that what we're getting at?
I mean, if the personality fits, the personality fits. We confirmed or denied if he has a beat firm.
We have not.
I will say this, is that from the player standpoint and from recruiting, Greg Gard has, in this very fast-changing era, he has shown they can adapt, and they can adapt quick. This is going to be the new challenge now. He's done it with his players. He's done it with a roster foundation. There's still a lot to prove, but also there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon versus a lot of question marks. Now, I think it's like the same situation of how they started when they moved and how they were trying to adapt. Now it's just from a coaching standpoint. What happens when you lose a guy who is so key to making the offense, basically helping this whole train run the way that it does? We'll see exactly if Brad brings something different, how he can help this team grow, and we'll just go from there.
All right, let's get to everyone's favorite segment, the Wisconsin Twitter portal.
It's time for the Badgers Twitter portal.
All right, fellas, it is in fact time to enter the Badgers Twitter portal, and I got some good ones for you today, starting with one of my favorite Twitter accounts, Badgers Burners, Dr. Marte.
Which one of these are you?
Luke Fickell, trying to use his team vest to stop Bryce Underwood from throwing 80-yard bombs.
You can see this on the ESPN Madison YouTube stream with The Rock on there. And that's, so what's your question?
So my question is, will Bryce Underwood hit the over on his passing yards against Wisconsin?
And that is?
I just realized I meant to look that up and never did, but...
Fantastic. I'm going to go yes anyways.
Great preparation on my part.
I say yes. I'm really hoping that Wisconsin forces Bryce Underwood to be a quarterback. He hardly has a 50% completion rate, too. If anything, I think the coaching staff has said, too, that he's relying too much on his run game, and he's relying too much on that. It's just like, trust your arm. But I still think that he'll probably hit the over. Whatever it is.
175.5.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Nope. Shoot it over. That
could be like 3 throws, the way the Badgers have defended some plays this year.
Yes.
Like a 60-yard bomb or something like that to put the nail in the coffin against Maryland.
Yeah, so. I think Ty Simpson had, 380
We're not going to talk about those video game numbers.
Right.
It was like first half he had it.
Yeah. All right, enough of that depressing discussion of secondary. Moving on to something also not great. From Ben Stevens, Wisconsin is currently a 17.5-point underdog versus Michigan on Saturday. In the last 10 full seasons, including this week, the Badgers have been an underdog in 27 total games. 12 of those games have come under Luke Fickell since 2023. Tough sledding. Do you think that speaks more to Luke Fickell as a coach or the improved, expanded Big Ten?
Yes. No, I'm going to go with the Fickell as a coach because, and I know this is not about this specific game, but correct me if I'm wrong, Michigan's always been in the Big Ten. And the majority of the Badgers games still are played against teams that have spent a long time in the Big Ten. So I'm going to go ahead and blame that on Fickell.
Yeah, you can't. You gotta go with Fickell on this one, or at least that's where I'm at. Because again, like you said, Jim, Michigan's always been around. They haven't changed their recruiting strategy. If anything, the NIL's probably just gone a little bit up, but they are still Michigan at the end of the day. Nothing has changed in terms of how they operate as a team on that field. So I feel like that even though, yeah, the Big Ten is expanded, but that's why you also brought in Luke Fickell, is because you knew the Big Ten was growing. You were hoping that he could compete by this time, and yeah, that just sucks. There's no other way to put it. So I go Fickell on this.
All right, last but certainly not least, this I feel like was a joke of a question. Also terrible preparation on my part. My screenshot included the hovering over the
Riley,
the
what are you
profile
doing?
picture. So rough showing for me today. Mr. Brightside versus Jump Around. That's not a question. Jump Around all day. Is Mr. Brightside even a top 10 tradition in the Big Ten?
Hell no.
No, and in the expanded Big Ten, I'm going to assume that there's better ones than that. Because how
no.
old is Mr. Brightside?
A few years old.
Yeah.
This is new. It's crap.
Yeah,
Wisconsin has 2. Penn State has, I think almost 3.
You have a whiteout, dotting the I, all the cool trophy games, the Hawkeye Way. Not even a contest.
Honorable mention, first out, if we're doing college football playoff bracket based off the Big Ten traditions.
Not even. That is it for the Twitter portal.
All right, Kelly Stouffer is coming up next. Steinhoffels is celebrating 91 years of bringing style, comfort, and quality to Wisconsin homes. As a 100% employee-owned company, you'll always get honest service and no-pressure sales. Find your perfect night's sleep with Steinhoffels. Discover your sleep system and let their decorating solution experts help design every room in your home. From the latest trends to trusted quality, Steinhoffels has everything you need to make your space feel like you. Celebrate 91 years of Steinhoffels. Shop in-store or online at steinhoffels.com.
During Steinhoffel's Best Brand Sale, bring home incredible style, unbeatable comfort, and big savings for every room in your home. Take 10% off store-wide or use Steinhoffel's 36-month 0% financing. Plus, get an extra 10% off designer living rooms, delightful dining collections, and cozy bedrooms, including special orders. Hurry in! The Best Brand Sale is happening now at Steinhoffel's, Wisconsin's furniture and mattress leader. Relax, it's Steinhoffel's.
And we are thrilled to be joined by Kelly Stouffer from ESPN. He's calling the Badger game with Mark Kessler and Ian Fitzsimmons this weekend. Kelly, thanks for taking the time today to join us.
You bet. It's good to hear you guys. You were having a great time, but Mr. Brightside versus Jump Around, who the hell put that question up there?
Riley, where did that?
That's a great question. That was from the Fox College Football Twitter account. So
yeah, I don't get that one. I didn't even know what Mr. Brightside was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, is it a Coldplay song? Is that
no? The Killers.
The Killers.
Yep.
Sorry, same difference to me. But I'm not full into that genre of music. So
yeah, I'm with you.
Kelly, I actually, I'm one of the. I'm old enough to remember you played college, and I also remember you playing for the Dolphins a little bit as well. So I wanted to first ask you. You have a unique perspective of you at least knew of Wisconsin, and maybe you didn't back in the day, and where they were from when you were playing college ball and a little bit in the pros to where they were under Barry Alvarez and Brett Bielema to where they are now. I think you probably have a pretty unique perspective of where this program has kind of gone since the early 90s.
Yeah, I think what I remember about Wisconsin football, first of all, Barry Alvarez is a Nebraska guy, and that's where I'm calling you from, born and raised in Nebraska. So the thing I remember about Wisconsin and that I love about Wisconsin is you always remember identity and run the football until you don't run it anymore and play incredibly physical defense. And you saw that kind of through one head coach to the next. And I don't really see that as I turn on the tape nowadays, but I think where Wisconsin certainly has to get back to.
And so, with that, when you're coming into this game, Michigan clearly looks like the more physical and more dominant team. But when you're coming into this, Luke Fickell's a guy that's won a lot of games. And he talked a lot about how the players just need something to go right to maybe so they feel like they can, overcome adversity in a game or win a tight game. As an analyst watching a lot of games and a former player, what is that feeling like where the players start to lose confidence in their ability to really go out and overcome adversity in a game? Because Fickell's been pretty open about these players need something to go right in a big game so they feel like they can overcome and can do it.
Well, and I think that's the key is you have to have something go right. It would be nice to start staying healthy. And right now, Wisconsin just seems, and really for a couple of years under Luke Fickell, they've just had such a difficult time gaining traction because they can't stay healthy. And really you start at the QB1 position, just keeping a quarterback on the field, having some continuity at that position. In college football as well as the NFL, if you don't get quarterback one right, you don't have really a lot of things feel good to you in your program as a whole. And right now, that's, I think, what is happening with Wisconsin. They just can't keep that position on the field. And when I start the season as an example, I start with, deciding whether teams have a chance to win a championship or let alone be a playoff team, win a national championship. I start with a quarterback position first, and then the offensive line and defensive lines of scrimmage second. And right now, if you look at Wisconsin, they can't keep a quarterback healthy, and they didn't last year either, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And their offensive line isn't the offensive line that I remember Wisconsin to be. You know, the guys that go down and eat together. Forget the name of the restaurant where they have the endless, the bottomless French fries and all those things. And,
yeah, Red Robin. There was a big article about that a couple of years ago. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's not who they are currently. And so I feel like that used to be their identity: a physical run of the football, physical running backs, an offensive line that's about 7 deep, and you can just keep rotating those guys through, and a quarterback that was going to value the football and stay on the field. And they just haven't had that under Luke Fickell.
Kelly, yeah, I'm going off of that too. Is there a way to, I don't want to say the old Wisconsin, because we do know that this sport, from football has just gone through its evolution. It's moving faster, but how can Wisconsin still return to what their older roots were and still keep that modern energy in today's college football world?
I think a lot of people are doing it. I mean, I think the run game is making a comeback, not only in major college football, but also the NFL. But you have to have a quarterback that understands the game, that values the football. When I started looking at this game and thinking of the way the Wisconsin reminds me of currently, to some extent, it reminds me of Brent Venables at Oklahoma a year ago. And Brent Venables, we had them earlier in the year against Auburn, and they had zero identity offensively under Brent Venables up until this year. And the first thing they did is they solved the quarterback problem. And then they did this in reverse. They got the offensive coordinator, and the coordinator brought his quarterback with him. So they kind of solve that problem in one fell swoop. They had an identity offensively, which they do now, and they solved the quarterback situation. But there are a lot of teams that are building their offensive identities around a physical run game and valuing the football from the quarterback position, and having a quarterback that also is somewhat mobile, that can make you plays in those money downs where you have to get it on third down and even fourth down this day and age with analytics, and being able to extend drives. And so I definitely think that Wisconsin can get back there, but this is the problem that a lot of teams like Wisconsin and others face. You have to have the money to invest in the quarterback position. I mean, you guys would be playing a team this week in Michigan that seems to be on the verge of cracking that code. We know that they won the national championship in 23 under Harbaugh, and they had some identity issues offensively. If you remember, leading up to that season, Harbaugh was on his way out. Mm-hmm. And then for about 3 years, they kind of found themselves. They found a quarterback. They found an offensive line that could play together. They found the offensive identity. And obviously, it ultimately finished in that national championship in 2023. So it can be done, but this day and age, you literally go out and be willing to spend the money to solve that position first. And a lot of teams are on the outside looking when it comes to what's necessary to make that happen.
And you used to talk about the NIL, and I think it just adds even more of a microwave nation or idea to like, hey, we need to win now. And there was fire Fickell chants as the Badgers lost to Maryland. It was a disappointing performance from one of the former Badger players, Derek Engler, who, as a regular on this show, said he didn't see kind of that effort and heart that he's used to seeing from the Badgers, which is one thing to definitely be concerned about. But from your perspective, for Luke Fickell or any coach, what is that timeline in today's day and age where they are allowed to actually build a program without feeling the pressures of that he's feeling right now? Because I think Badger fans, if you ask them, they'd be like, let's get a new coach. But this is also a couple games into year 3 for Luke Fickell.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. And I think to some extent that timeline is somewhat of a moving target. And it depends on, the patience of the administration, the circumstances. But year 3 is usually that time, to be honest, in many cases, kind of on average, is really making some inroads, showing real traction in year 3. And I think there is somewhat of a need for patience when you have the injuries that Luke Fickell has had. But I'll be honest with you, I don't want to stir the pot here, but I was a little disturbed how the quarterback position was handled against Maryland, to be honest with you. Billy Edwards Jr. was not ready to play. And I didn't like, as a former quarterback and as a former player, seeing a player in that position. I don't care how bad he wants to play against his former team. It was that first drive on 3rd and 7 down in the red zone after the big play. They run the ball on 1st or 2nd down. They go to throw it on 3rd down, and he wasn't willing to put his left foot on the ground. Your plant foot is a right-handed thrower. And then he isn't in that next play. They missed that field goal, you guys remember. He isn't in the first play of the next drive, but he's in the second play. So he talked his way onto the field again. And there were people that dropped the ball in that situation, to be perfectly honest. I can deal with player injuries and kind of misfortune in that sense. I can't deal with those decisions. That was desperation to me. And Luke Fickell is better than that. And so, first of all, they have to handle those things better. And, I mean, they're doing some really good things, obviously, on the defensive side. They can defend the run, which is going to be the key matchup against Michigan, obviously. They have some injuries on the back end that has hurt them, but they're doing some really good things defensively. Offensively, you just have to pick a lane. You have to decide who you are offensively. And I know they went out and got Jeff Grimes, and I know what he stands for. Heavy RPO, want to run the football again and all those things, but you have to keep a quarterback healthy. I know you're not really in control of a lot of that, but you were in control whether Billy Edwards took the field or not. And so those decisions could be made better. But you're right. To your original question, it's difficult as a player to hear those chants about people wanting to fire your head coach, and then you have to go out and have the energy and the desire to practice hard and prepare for a team like they're going to face against Michigan. So it's a difficult time for Wisconsin football, but Wisconsin has been there before. They can get through this. They just have to decide if this is the group that's going to help them do that.
With Billy Edwards, I know Coach Fickell did address it on Monday, saying that he didn't seem thrilled with how he handled it, how Luke Fickell handled it. So I think he also has taken accountability on that. I think that and he talked about how there's a balance between coaches, because he talked about Jeff Grimes with some of their trick plays is trying to force something to happen, but players too trying to force something to happen, because we talked earlier about needing something to happen good. And there's a line that players have to walk, and probably coaches too, of wanting to be that spark to make something happen, but also coaching and playing within yourself.
Yeah, and I know from the quarterback position firsthand, it's interconnected. You're dependent on the other guys, obviously, on that side of the ball more than any other position in sports, I think. And the harder you try to make something happen at that position, if you don't have the pieces around you, trust me, the worse it gets. So the hard part now is you're facing a really good Michigan defense, and defense is going forward with the schedule that you guys have, in the coming weeks. You're playing a backup quarterback, have issues on the offensive line, and you're not very explosive. Well, that's not a good formula to be decent offensively. And so you have to decide the things that you can do well. And that's why the bye, I think, came at a perfect time, is you can kind of circle the wagons. It went from kind of rest and recovery to almost regrouping, to be perfectly honest, and deciding what pieces you have and what can we do well, and play to your strength, which is your defense, particularly your front seven that can defend the run well, and just do the little things. Some really small steps to begin with to your point, to create some confidence, in some semblance of confidence offensively, and just go from there, because you can't really do more than you're capable of doing, or more than what you have, the pieces that you have to work with. So you have to decide as coaches, what do we have and what can we get the most out of right now and worry about that today.
Kelly, I know you'll be on the call this weekend for ESPN National Radio. What are you, in terms of looking for, what are those weak spots? You mentioned that Wisconsin, although they do have these things going against them, there are some positives that this team has. In terms of the weak spots that Michigan has coming up in this week, what are those spots that you're hoping that Wisconsin could potentially expose in terms of those weak spots that Michigan has?
Well, Michigan is still playing a freshman quarterback, although he's immensely gifted. He's as good as advertised, and I think he will be probably great one day if he can stay healthy. But if you're going to play Michigan, the one thing you want more than anything else is to be able to defend the run well. And Wisconsin is literally, like right now, statistically the best in the country at doing that. And I think Wisconsin doesn't give up any explosive plays defensively either. I don't think they've given up an explosive run over 20 yards. The only team in the country, I believe, that fits that description. And Michigan lives off of explosive runs. I think they had a 75, a 58, and a 37-yard touchdown against Nebraska. Nebraska defended their run fairly well, except for those 3 plays. Yeah. And that's really all that was needed for the most part. So I think Wisconsin starts right. They can defend the run. But as the saying goes, the next step is if you can defend the run, you then have to defend the pass, because that's what Bryce Underwood has gotten better at. From game 1 through the Nebraska game, he's seeing things considerably better. Plus, I think Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator, is handling him better. So he's getting outside the pocket. He's throwing on the run better. He still will throw some up. He'll throw into double coverage. You have a shot play, it's covered. He'll still throw the football, those type of things. But Wisconsin has to step up into the pass defensive part of it. And if they can do that as they've defended the run, I think it'll give their offense a chance to kind of settle in and find something that they feel good about. Wisconsin's never very far away from running the football. If they can 5 healthy offensive linemen that can run the outside zone a few times, and then a mobile quarterback that can have some design runs where that's concerned. That's where a Mateer at Oklahoma made some hay against Michigan defensively. The design quarterback runs, like power type runs, the Cam Newton type things where you pull a couple of offensive linemen and you have a read. I think there's some traction to be made there for Wisconsin offensively. And so get a little bit of that going as your defense is playing well. And who knows? Wisconsin, I mean, who thought in the Oregon game a year ago? I mean, everyone saw that to be a complete blowout as well, and Wisconsin had no chance. It was a 16-13 game. The year before, something similar against Ohio State. So Wisconsin has been in games like this before, and it's going to take something very similar against Michigan.
Kelly, fantastic stuff. We're looking forward to hearing you on the call with Mark Kesselshire and Ian Fitzsimmons for the Badgers against Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. You guys have a great day.
You too. That's
Thanks,
Kelly Stouffer, former college football NFL quarterback, and on the call with ESPN and the broadcast coming up this Saturday. This has been The Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show on ESPN Madison and ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channels.